So this type of brewing is called Gong Fu cha. Gong Fu is the same word as Kung Fu that we all used to in reference to martial arts. But in China, Kung Fu, it basically means cultivation of a skill. So whatever you do, if you do filmmaking or if you do tea, as long as you strive to excel at what you're doing and you pay attention and you dedicate yourself to what you're doing, it's called Gong Fu. So Gong Fu cha is not just a way of brewing, it's also a practice and a philosophy. And technically, that means that we brew tea in small vessels, as you see, and drink it from small cups. But we brew tea in concentrated amounts, something like espresso. And we rebrew it many times, and we observe the changes that tea goes through in terms of aroma, in terms of taste, in terms of the finish, the aftertaste that it leaves. And it's like mindful brewing of tea. Then we're gonna pour water over it, and instead of steeping it for a few minutes that I would do with like in the Western style of brewing, I'm gonna brew it for just a couple of seconds, literally, because we want to open it gradually, open up the tea gradually. We don't want to open everything at once, and that would be the end of it. It would be boring, But we're going to be observing how the tea changes its taste, its aroma, its mouthfeel, all other aspects of it. And this is a teapot. We fill him with the excess of tea and water that we have. He's made of clay, and the clay is porous, so he's soaking in all the tea. There is something satisfying about slurping, So a very good friend of mine who became my teacher, she's been involved with tea since childhood back in Russia, where it became very popular after the breakdown of Soviet Union. And I had some spare time on my hands. Before that I was a goldsmith, and because of the crisis of 2008 I lost my job, and I'm a jack of many trades, yes. And so I was like jobless and had so much free time on my hands, and one day she came to me, she brewed this tea, and I'm a very visual person. As I told you, my degrees in film production, I always pay attention to visuals. Before that, I never really paid attention to aromas. And the aroma of that tea was so enticing, and it was so like out of what I expected, that got me really curious. And I asked you, Katya, can you teach me, like how to brew tea this way? So this idea of this kind of setting came from one of my trips to China, where like once again in like Chaozhou, that I told you this tradition came from, and in many other tea producing regions in China. There is always like a tea table, and the owner will invite you to the table and brew tea for you, and just have a little chit chat, small talk. And just a little bit than a year ago, I opened it here in this location as a physical place. It was super challenging. I was really broke and it was nerve-wracking. I got depressed at some point with anxiety attacks because of the uncertainties and everything. But then when it started paying for itself, little by little, and now like I'm sustaining myself, and this is super satisfying, man. Because this is the only place like this in the entire neighborhood, and people don't expect anything like that. And when they come and they find this like little corner, to see the amusement, on their faces and the gratitude, and it's like lots of positive vibes come from it. So with teaware, also the shape and the material of what you're brewing in it also is very important. This, for example, this kind of vessel is called gaiwan, which literally means lidded cup. And this serves as a teapot and also as a cup. And you brew tea in them and you drink tea from them directly. The lid serves as a filter and you just drink tea like that, from a larger cup. It usually comes with a saucer, like the bigger gaiwans usually come with a saucer. And depending on the clay has mineral composition that affects the taste of tea. If you look here, this tea set is made of silver. So it's actually porcelain on the outside and silver lined on the inside. And silver, it somehow makes the perception of the water softer, and in softer water, sweetness comes out more evidently. And these teapots, for example, they made of yixing clay, which is a very well-revered clay in China. It has a unique mineral composition, high iron content, and they retain heat much better. So they best suited for pu'er teas and for some oolongs, and they round out the taste, removing like harsh notes. These teapots are very sought by tea connoisseurs. This type of clay is very valued. And then there are different shapes like rounded or tall. This is called dragon egg, for example. And each shape is more suited for certain types of tea. So we're going to be brewing the third tea from Bingdao. So we're used to tea that comes from bushes, like tea bushes and tea plantations. But in Yunnan and some other parts, like in neighboring Vietnam, Laos, Burma, Thailand, they still have like tea forests where tea grows on actual trees. Because the leaves are much thicker, and it takes much more work for water to break in and to extract all the goodness from them. They start opening up maybe on like fourth, fifth infusion. So this is the third one. So with tea, you pay attention to, I would say, 4 key aspects. One is taste, another one is aroma, the third one, very important, is the finish, the aftertaste that the tea leaves, and the fourth one is, we call it cha-chi, like chi, what we say, like it's a life force energy that goes through your body, that's in all living things. So tea has its own very pronounced, good tea has its own very pronounced tea, like energy that it gives you, that it's like,
I believe that, so. 100%.
The theory of small good deeds, so to say, that if you just pay attention to yourself and try to be the better person yourself,
and do good things on everyday level, that will have a greater impact on everything than, than some honorable goals, like blah blah blah.
And sometimes I'm just sitting and trying to wrap my head around the fact how lucky I am that I get to experience all this and I get to try all this, and this theory of small deeds. I mean, it probably will not solve all the problems in the world, but at least, it solves my internal problems. And tea helps you to slow down and to internalize and to reflect and to think about all of that. I'm happy and proud of what I'm doing. It makes me feel fulfilled in a way, and gives me great satisfaction, and makes me feel a better person, if that makes sense. So it definitely pays off. And once again, I've been doing many different jobs. I was always looking for something a little bit unusual, a little bit like outside of the boring. And this is by far the best thing that I've ever done to myself and probably to community, because it really makes people happier, even if it's like for 15 minutes in the day. It makes a difference.